Hey everyone. You know, you look at the date of when this when this video is being uploaded, and you kind of say to yourself, why is he talking about season 8 already? Doing a review of it or an overview. And basically it's because season 8 already finished up in a lot of countries. Places like Europe, like France, Sweden, Denmark, European countries, Australia. It's pretty much finished up. And for a lot of us, we were waiting for the Nickelodeon the Boomerang Australian and Nickelodeon Australian or Nickelodeon Europe broadcast, because those were in English. And as far as them being sped up because of PAL format, I didn't notice that. I noticed they were at the same time frame they should be. So, there's that. So again, I didn't really notice much of a speed up, if any at all. But if I was to look back at the season 8 as a whole, I'd have to say that it's probably one of the more mixed seasons. It's one of the most, how do I put this? It's probably one of the most controversial seasons we've ever had in MLP. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because a lot of stuff happened in this season that, well, I will say most of the positive outweighed the negative, but I think the reason a lot of fans looked at this as being one of the more controversial seasons they've had is the fact that what this season was doing was being a follow-up not only to the previous season but to the movie that had just come out the year before in October. So basically the creative staff, whether you agree with it or you don't, had a lot on the plate going into the season. So yeah, the creative staff, because this was also, I think, the first year that Nicole Dubach was serving as executive producer on the show, that the creative staff was basically trying to have this season live up to the success that the movie did, live up to the epicness, live up to the standards that the movie set, and basically the payoff being that it would be a decent follow-up. And when I look at it from start to finish, I have to say it was. I have to say that it was a pretty decent follow-up. There are moments in this season that no fans are going to agree with. I think some of the biggest noticeable moments in the season was how in certain episodes you would have characters basically regress back to earlier season versions of themselves. Like in non-compete clause with Applejack and Rainbow Dash going back into the friendly rivalry, which they're supposed to have grown from. Or Pinkie Pie acting depressed and going back into Pinkamena, and thus morphing back into Pinkamena because she can't play an instrument that she got from Yakistan or something. Or Twilight having her freak out like she did in Horseplay. And, being dishonest was, of all ponies, her mentor. So there were a lot of moments in this season that a lot of fans were not too keen on. Heck, you take a look at Matter of Principles, and it's like, why would you write Discord this way, or why would you write Starlight this way? In fact, speaking of Starlight, the way they presented her on the road to friendship was another situation as well. So yeah, there were a lot of moments in this season that a lot of fans did not agree with and were not keen on, because they felt it was a disservice to the characters' development and involvement that they've had throughout the show. Like, it was a disservice to do what they did to Rainbow Dash and Applejack, a disservice to do what they did to Twilight, a disservice to do what they did to Pinkie, a disservice to do do what they did to Discord and then even Starlight later on. It's like, why would you do this? In fact, Marks for Effort was even a disservice to Twilight, because out of all ponies, she shouldn't have been the one to get on the case of the CMCs for trying to do the right thing. I mean, yeah, the CMCs wanted to get into Twilight's school because they thought it was the cool school to be part of. Yeah, that was a disservice to them as well, as some fans will point out. But as I look at it, and I think I even mentioned this in a video, I think the writers felt that, you know, just like the movie in a way was kind of an introduction to that new audience, that perhaps presenting the characters in certain ways throughout this season, like it's the first time seeing them and it's our first introduction to them, was a good way to go as well. But I think part of the controversy that followed with the season, and I mentioned this in a video, was the fact that the writers didn't communicate very well with each other. They didn't communicate very well. They didn't pass along notes or references of how a character should be presented, of, you know, what the continuity is that should be addressed and acknowledged. I mean, even with the washouts that came out officially here in the US this past Saturday, had a continuity error there, when out of all characters, Scootaloo is starting to now idolize Lightning Dust, when she just, I think, last year or the year before, basically told Rainbow Dash's parents about the rivalry between Dust and Dash, and what Dust had done to get herself kicked out of the Wonderbolts. So there were some continuity issues, and again, I think it was all based on miscommunication, which is something I hope they work on going into the 9th season. But like I said, the positives in this season definitely outweighed the negatives, and there's no doubt about it. The positives even started in the first half of the season. The two-part premiere School Days. What else did you have? You had the Parent Map app, which was a good one. You had the Breakup Breakdown, which was a decent one. You know, you had Meltdown, which a lot of fans were looking forward to when they heard about that. So basically, right there, you had 3 decent episodes, and you had some decent episodes along the way in the first 13. Like I said, you had School Days 1 and 2. You had the Parent Map. You had the Breakup Breakdown. You had Meltdown. You had 5 out of 8 episodes that were good. The others had mixed reactions, there's no doubt. Granny's Gone Wild, depending on how you felt about the title, actually got good viewership and was a great homage to the Golden Girls. And a great story there as well. Not to judge your elders just because of how old they are. So basically, you had 6 out of 13 episodes, the first 13 episodes, that fans looked at with positive reviews. They enjoyed them. You know, they looked at them with positive reviews. They enjoyed them. And then heck, let's add another to the list. Maud Pie getting a boyfriend. And I think that was like the 2nd or 3rd episode of the season. So you had 8, and the boyfriend being based off Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. That's like that's like 7 episodes out of 13. 7 out of the 13 episodes that got positive reviews. So 7 out of the 13 were good. The 6 others had mixed reactions. The second half, just like I mentioned at the MLP forums, just like the second and third act of part 1 of the finale, and the second part overall of the finale, you know, is where the story picked up. The second half of the season is where it really picked up as well. Now, did it have its hiccups as, you know, some of the first half episodes? Oh yeah, it had its hiccups. Like I mentioned earlier, Matter of Principles was an episode that fans they were okay with, but they just didn't like how Discord was being represented. It's like, why would you regress Discord back to this state? Why would you do this? Why would you have him play a prank on the main six, which includes a character he cares about very much in Fluttershy, just to get him out of the way so he can get involved with the school? You know, what sense does that make? You know, what sense does that actually make? And then, of course, you take a look at Yakety Sax, which premiered early as part of the Discovery Family Summer Surprise Month in July, but it's actually a part of the second half of season 8. You know, why would you have Pinky, like I said earlier, act the way she did? It just didn't make sense. And for her to leave and move out of Ponyville into Yakistan because of that didn't make any sense either. So there were some hiccups, no doubt. But overall, the positives outweighed the negatives. The second half had a lot of positives. You know, one of the things that fans were always hoping for when it came to the season, due to the fact that we had these new characters known as the Student Six, aka the Young Six, that were a diversity of different species. You know, like Gallus, a griffin, Silverstream, a hippogriff sea pony, Zambar, a pony, Oculus, a changeling, Smolder, a dragon, and Yona, a yak. You know, one thing that viewers and fans were hoping for when it came to the introduction of these characters was, would we learn more about them? And the first half did give us some focus on them at times, but it was mainly in the second half that we really started to get more focus and more of an idea of who these characters were. Who these characters are, where they came from, and how they celebrate certain traditions. Hearts Woman Club definitely helped out in that area. You know, where we find out, you know, where they're from, you know, and how they celebrate certain holiday traditions. You know, What Lies Beneath did a great follow-up on that. So, there were episodes there that fans had been waiting for a long, long time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of fans have been waiting for episodes like that for a long time, and they served their purpose, including the ones in the first half that did the same thing. They served their purpose, and that's not the end of it. You know, A Rock Hoof and a Hard Place is another good episode. Just ask the Cartoon Gentleman. The fact that you have Yona being the one that becomes the voice of reason for Rock Hoof to realize, hey, you are important. You do have a place as an unquestioned storyteller of history, of not just of what you've done, but of what others have done in your time period. You know, just moments like that made episodes like Rock Hoof and a Hard Place good. You know, the washouts, despite the continuity error that I mentioned earlier, were good. It had a great development between, you know, great sistery character development between Scootaloo and Rainbow Dash. Perfect. Just absolutely perfect. You know, overall this season, like I said, it had its ups and downs, but in the end, I have to say it definitely presented itself as a passable, if not decent, you know, follow-up to not only season 7 but the movie. The fact that you had an episode that was promoted at San Diego Comic-Con that people felt could live up to its hype and be good, and it did, and that's the Sounds of Silence, which introduces us to a new race in the Kareen, which are half pony, half dragon, and a new character called Autumn Blaze, voiced by Rachel Bloom, who's a multi-talented entertainer, actress, singer. You know, what more can you ask for in getting you hyped up for what's to come afterwards? Even Father Knows Beast was good because it started to explore an avenue that fans have been wanting to explore about Spike, like who's his parents, you know, where did he actually come from, kind of deal. So it had a good story there. And it definitely showed that in the end, certain dragons, like his supposed father, who the supposed father really wasn't, it still shows that there are dragons that are stuck in their own way, in the old ways of doing what they have to do to survive. So, overall, like I said, I think when you look back at season 8, even if you don't watch the rest of the U.S. premieres, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people will, like I will anyway, but if you look at it as a whole and you still watch the early releases, you would have to agree that despite its hiccups here and there, that it overall was a decent follow-up to season 7, if not as well as the movie. A decent follow-up. And in fact, it had continuity nods, just not to earlier seasons and previous seasons like season 7, but it had continuity nods and acknowledgments and references to the movie. That's saying a lot. I mean, you had Twilight basically in the part 1 of the finale when she says that she and her friends are going to go, and after Rarity realizes, whoa, wait a minute, what did you just say? Did you just say we? And Twilight explained that, yeah, she's learned a lesson that she can depend on her friends to be there for her, to help her out. That's a great acknowledgement and reference towards the movies, to the movie and the situation that happened there with Twilight and her friends. So overall, in the end, and I know I'm saying that a lot, season 8 is definitely a decent, passable decent follow-up to not only season 7, but to the movie as well. It got great continuity callbacks to previous seasons, earlier seasons, and even the movie. And it makes me look forward to what season 9 has to offer. So, and heck, it even had a great antagonist at the end. So, which is what this show needed, an antagonist that even at a moment's notice could stay a step ahead. So, overall, season 8 definitely is passable, is definitely a decent follow-up, and I highly recommend going back and watching it when you can. And it makes me look forward to season 9 and what it has to offer. And again, like I said, just overall, I can't say any more than the fact that it's a decent overall follow-up to the movie and season 7. So, let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear from you guys. I know I repeated myself a little bit towards the end here. I do apologize. But let me know what you guys think. And I'll talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care.